Hey y'all, welcome to the road to Cowgirls at the Cowboy, where I'm taking you behind the scenes with me as I saddle up with the ladies of Cowgirls at the Cowboy, the nation's first and only 3-night all-female country music festival at Jackson Hole's iconic Million Dollar Cowboy Bar. I'm your host, Jenny Tolman. I'm a country music artist, songwriter, new mom, and the host and curator of Cowgirls at the Cowboy. And I'm so happy that you're here. Y'all, we are here for the very first episode of The Road to Cowgirls at the Cowboy, and I am so excited to have Miss Caitlyn Smith here. There's so much that I can say for your intro, because I'm like, okay, 2-time ACM nominated, CMT nominated. We have cuts by very casual artists such as Dolly Parton, Garth Brooks. You're like all over the map, touring with George Strait, Little Big Town, Tim and Faith, like Reba, all these people who only need one name. They don't even need a last name. And somehow you wound up in my basement studio tonight.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me
today. Oh my gosh, of course. So for everybody listening, Caitlyn played our inaugural Cowgirls at the Cowboy last year in Jackson Hole. Blew the roof off. Man. Oh my gosh. And it was Natalie Hemby, you and me, and we had the best time. Everybody still talks about your performance being one of the best things they've ever seen at the Cowboy, which I have to agree with.
That is so nice.
It's not nice. It's true.
Well, for me, like, just that whole festival and that whole experience, like, I heard Natalie, she said, like, I'm creating core memories here. Like, This was a core memory. And I was like, actually, yeah, like, that whole festival and that whole weekend was, like, I will not ever forget it. Like, it was so special. I think just being around some of my favorite women, so like being around a weekend of just being inspired in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Right.
I had waffles on a mountain, and mimosas on a mountain. I was like, okay. Like, it was out of the, and Jackson Hole's like,
I know.
Insane.
That makes me so happy to hear. Was that your first time to Jackson, or had you been there?
I had been near once before, but I had never like spent a lot of time there. So it was my first time getting to really like buy up all the things in this town square, and like
it's very easy to become obsessed with.
I didn't want to leave.
I got engaged there and married there, and now I'm like, I'm going to start a festival.
I understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't wait to go back.
Mm-hmm. And not only did you do your performance at the Cowboy, but you had another stunning performance in front of the Teton Mountain Range for CMT. Because CMT came out and filmed the whole entire festival for an episode of their Hot 20 Countdown. And so all the girls got to go around and do our fun little excursions. And yours was singing high in front of the Tetons. And it was like, the Tetons aren't breathtaking enough until you hear Caitlyn's voice in front of them, and you're like,
oh man, that was also like one of those like fairy tale days too, of like, wow, like I get to put on a pretty dress and like sing a song in the most beautiful place in God's green earth. Like this is like, okay, what more could I don't really know. What more could I want to do?
Dream job moment.
It was a total dream job moment. Yes. Like just being surrounded by God's splendor, and like, even like, because a lot of times when I'm like going out hiking in the mountains or being in the mountains, I'm like, I don't actually have my guitar. And there's something so beautiful about combining like music in those like,
I love
kind of holy spaces.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
It's pretty wild. So
oh my gosh,
it was really fun.
Yeah, so thank you CMT for that core memory.
It was really magical.
And you were nominated for your first CMT award last year,
which was bonkers.
With your song
so
I
crazy.
Can't with Old Dominion.
So much fun.
Was that your first nomination?
That was
at
my
an award
first,
show?
Let's see.
Because I know you're ACM nominated too.
I don't know how, it's all so weird that it all runs together. I think I might have gotten nominated for the ACM, and then the CMT for the video was my second nomination. But, you know, I had so much fun making that video too. And so to have it recognized and, you know, nominated was like really, really fun and cool.
Absolutely.
To cry on camera.
Aww.
Like, you know.
Did you have to do anything to create those tears? Because that's like a fear of mine. Funny. I'm about to shoot a sad music video, and that's a fear of mine. Like, how do you make yourself cry on camera? I've never had to do that.
So it was interesting because the whole kind of premise of the music video in general kind of was, it came from, during COVID, it was obviously really hard for a lot of folks, but, I was kind of thinking about all of the small businesses and thinking about all the music venues that just could not be open. And so for this video, I actually partnered with Save Our Stages, Neva. And so we made shirts and donated money and raised awareness to have people give these awesome independent venues some money because we need them. But anyways, all that to say is the video then was specifically about a small business owner trying to keep her business alive.
Yes.
And she just can't. And so kind of just, I was just sitting in that emotion of reality. And I'm this is actually really sad and can make me cry pretty easily.
Yeah. And I feel like that shows who you are as a person. Because first of all, just that concept is so unique and out of the box, to focus on something like that. And one of the things that I always think about when I think of Caitlyn Smith is that you are the nicest person. I'm not joking. I'm not just saying that. And I'll tell you a quick little story of the first time I ever interacted with you. And I don't even know if you remember this, but I was at the Bluebird, and it was my first time ever playing the Bluebird, having my own round, being in the round.
I remember this vividly. I remember this vividly.
You were there in the audience because your friend Laura was in the same round as me. And I saw you, and I knew who you were, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Caitlyn Smith. And when I started playing my songs, you would laugh when it was the appropriate time to laugh and respond how I always dreamed about an audience responding when I'm writing these songs. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Caitlyn was laughing at my songs.
Well, I remember being who TF is Jenny Tolman? She's my new favorite songwriter. This is the best. I remember just being blown away and immediately becoming obsessed with you. I remember that show.
No, but you really you make everybody feel.
You're the best.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. You make everybody feel like that though. You instill so much confidence in other people, which I think is one of the most beautiful things that you can do as a human. And just supporting. I mean, after that, you invited me to your all-female round that you had going on, Girls of Nashville. You are by far. I'm always just she's the nicest artist I've ever met.
That's nice of you to say.
Going back to your, you're philanthropic with your music video too, and just thinking about other people outside of the music industry and in the music industry. I mean, it just goes to show what kind of a person you are.
I feel, I can't help but feel really, really grateful that this is what I get to do for my job. And I don't know, it gives us a platform to be able to help in places, and then I even think of the music industry,
right?
And I flash back to when I first started coming to Nashville and how scary it was, and I had incredible women in my life reach a hand out and inspire me and write with me when nobody would, and so it's that leaves a massive impression of oh my gosh, and why wouldn't you want to act the same way? I don't know,
right?
And this town is just so magical because it's so full of really special. Everybody comes and they have their own little magic light that they have, and I don't know. I'm just fascinated by it all and want to look at this one. Do you guys see this artist over here? I don't know. So I just love celebrating.
Yes. Well, I believe you are what they call a rising boat. Or no, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Oh,
because you do that to everyone around you.
Thanks, Jenny.
But I feel a testament to you as a person. I mean, first of all, your talent speaks for itself. You are a powerhouse, and you have a way of being so gentle and so strong at the same time with your singing and your delivery and everything. So your talent warrants immense respect in itself, and then you as a human and the way that you are. And it's very apparent that you are one of the most respected artists in this town, based on all of the artists that have asked you to come on tour with them. I mean, I named a few, Tim and Faith, Reba. I mean,
it's
George
bonkers.
Strait,
I'm
Little Big Town.
Always pinching myself. What? This is nuts.
I mean, it's got to be incredible. Is there one that stands out? I know that they're all amazing to be on, I'm sure, but is there anything that stands out to you as being extra special for any particular reason?
Man, it's hard to like you were saying, it's like it's hard to narrow down because, I mean, all of these incredible folks that I've had the honor to open for, are all they're there for a reason. Yeah.
They're
they're
iconic.
legendary.
Yes.
They're iconic. They know how to run a business and be an incredible person, and that's like the root at all of those names, which is what you hope when you meet your heroes, right?
Yes.
But I mean, Tim and Faith was one of the first really big tours that I got to do, and you know, the amount of class that runs through their entire organization, from the top down to the bottom, and the respect that they gave me and my team when we were so green, we didn't know what we were doing, and like it just was outrageous. And to have like a hero like Faith Hill like just become a fan and encourage me was like, I just wanted to fall over like the whole tour. I mean, they were like beyond gracious, but even just like and getting a chance to like get to know them and like talk about being a mom on the road and like trying to garner like little nuggets of wisdom was like any chance that I got to like try and like teach me a little bit. What can I learn? Going out with Sheryl Crow was pretty magical. You know, seeing her with her two boys, and really like treat the road like an adventure. Was really fun to watch. And so it's not like they're just rolling in on a bus and like hanging out there all day, not doing anything. She's like, all right, kids, like, let's go to the museum. Here's the soccer nets. Like, she was like making it fun. And it just was so inspiring of like,
these are things that I can do.
These are things that I can do as a mom. Of like,
boys.
also, you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it just was like, I think a lot of these superstars like just showed me like, I don't know, just do you and be magical.
Also, like how normal you can be too.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly. And you can keep doing your normal life and like, except normal, like what I think about Tim McGraw, like we drive up our little van. He's flipping tires.
Wait, that's so funny because I literally thought about when I saw Tim McGraw on my talking points today for this. I was thinking about Tim McGraw flipping a giant tire for some reason.
Maybe we talked about it already. I don't know. But I remember, and he was like, "You want to work out with us?" He works out with his whole band. And Faith was like, "Leave her alone." Like, I was pregnant on the tour. Like,
oh my god.
No, I do not want to work out with you.
Tim McGraw.
I cannot.
You and your tires?
Will not.
Well, speaking of pregnant on tour, you are now pregnant with your third baby.
Oh, so grateful.
And you just wrapped up your headlining tour.
Oh, man.
For the Great Pretender. What was that like? And do you like touring while pregnant? How is it going for you? Tell me all the things.
Do you like touring while pregnant? I think my first two pregnancies, when I kind of think back on them, they were fairly easy. I think it just is difficult when you're not feeling well, and it's like a secret.
Yes.
Of like why. Why are you like crying so much?
Why
don't you want to eat any food?
I started crying at a sound man that was mean to me during sound check.
Oh,
and I didn't even know I was pregnant yet.
Pregnant or not.
I found out the next week that I was pregnant, but I literally said into the microphone, I was like, "You don't have to be so mean."
Oh my god!
And I went backstage and cried.
He doesn't have to be so mean.
And I was like, "This is so embarrassing. Why am I crying right now?"
Shame on that guy for being mean.
Oh, there's a baby in there.
There's a baby, but also, I would not put up with that. No. See, I would swing the other way. You were like, "Oh, you're so nice." But I think when I get pregnant, I get a little bit more sassy.
You're very allowed to, though.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Like, that lady comes out. I'm like, oh, no.
I love that.
She gets a little bit more. I don't know. But anyways, touring while pregnant, I mean, it's hard to be pregnant. Yeah. It is.
You're making a human.
You're making a human. You're tired. It does actually change your vocal cords.
Like mine got deeper. Did yours get deeper?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did some vocal therapy at Vanderbilt, and the vocal therapist there told me that when you have boys, you get like extra testosterone in your body.
That makes sense.
And it actually lowers. Like it's like permanently lowers your voice.
I can attest to that.
And
too.
now I've had 3 boys, so like I'm gonna be like, my range is really.
After the 2, you were still hitting the high notes just fine, so don't worry.
My range is down here now, but it's so funny. But you know, it also is like it's a special thing because I don't know, get to carry this little human around and like feel him kicking when I'm playing these shows.
I love that. Every
like,
time I would put my guitar on, Bear would
like
kick.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yep.
And like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I get to make a human with my body.
Did your boys, when they came out, did they recognize your music?
I don't. Maybe.
That's something
I guess I didn't like put my records on. All right, baby.
Well, with Bear, like when I would bring him to band rehearsal, like after he was born.
I know this song.
And he would be crying and we would start playing and he'd be like,
oh, I know this one.
Oh,
I've heard this.
But like cover songs, he did not like.
Oh, yeah, because you didn't rock out to cover songs. That's so interesting.
Yeah. So I wonder.
I'm gonna try that.
You'll have to test that out with this next one.
It's so funny. It becomes such a blur, and I feel like the more kids I've had, my brain just melted a little more and more. Like
I've come to
I
find
can't
that
remember.
Baby brain is very real. My poor managers know. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that. I forgot that too.
Oopsies. Oh well.
It's a thing.
You have a bit of an excuse. It's fine.
But what was it like having your headline tour?
Oh, okay, well that's magical. I mean, obviously it's like really special to share the stage with heroes, learn from them.
Yes.
You know, like that's amazing. But also the reality of that scenario is like you're putting on the Caitlyn Smith commercial. You're putting on the Jenny Tolman commercial. Like it's not your audience. You're trying to woo them. You're trying to win them over.
What is that? Mary Chapin Carpenter has a song called "I'm the Opening Act." She's like,
does?
"You don't know me,
and you don't know me." I need to go listen to that because that's
funny.
Brilliant.
We can all relate to it.
What a great idea for a song. I didn't know that. So Mary Chapin Carpenter knows what it's all about. It's the opening act. It's fun because you get to have all this exposure, but it is like buy my records. Yes. Follow me on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
Whatever it is.
I know.
And so now stepping into like, you know, a headline tour where it's like these people love your music, they buy your records, they know the words, and
they're coming for you.
For you.
Yeah.
And they're with you on this journey, and it is like the most special thing ever.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I can imagine.
And like with this tour too, because we're playing like fairly small rooms, we decided to kind of loop back around on this independent venues idea.
Oh,
and we actually, so Neva and Save Our Stages, then kind of that whole coalition of independent venues has turned into a group called Detour. We kind of band together. And so we decided, you know, when we going into these marketplaces that we've been in, to instead go to the independent venues instead of just the Live Nation venue that everyone goes to.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fun to like full circle back from the I Can't days to like these
that must
little
have created such special relationships too.
Yeah. So it was
those
so
independent
cool.
venue owners are some of my favorite people because they're so passionate about
so
it.
Passionate.
You can't own a venue and not have your complete heart and soul in it.
It's so true. And just getting to play these really cool, quirky rooms that like I love. So it's twofold. Fun. It was special to do the independent venues, but then also like being in front of your own audience. There's nothing like it. So
that's amazing. And you also put out your newest album, High and Low.
Da da da!
Here we have it on beautiful display.
It looks so nice there.
Which you
I love these records. Are you kidding me?
Thank you.
These records here, this babe.
Talk about self-promotion.
Hey. You're like, and buy this one and buy this.
So the Cowboy Bar, which is what we're here talking about. No.
I love this. I am obsessed with this album cover, by the way.
Thank you.
It's so good.
But back to you. You produced your own album, which I don't think I've ever heard of a solo female artist producing her own album. And also, I would like to throw in there that you are on a record label, Monument, that is ran by a female, Katie McCartney.
Yes.
So it's like we have all the girl power in there.
It's pretty
what was
the girl power is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's it like, the process of producing your own album? Because I'm married to a producer, so I know how much work that is.
Yeah.
And I could never do it. So I'm amazed that you did this.
Yeah,
so
it was...
walk me through your thought process there.
It was a wild ride. Mm-hmm. It's something that I've always been curious about. You know, I kind of go back to little Caitlyn, 15 years old. I had, like, a Pro Tools rig in my basement. And, like, I would come home from school and just, like, play, right? Yeah. And make little demos of the songs that I was writing. And, like, and so I had always been curious about production and excited. But, you know, I kind of moved to Nashville, and I didn't see any of that really happening.
Really?
Like, I didn't, as far as, like, women
doing, okay.
Producing themselves. Mm-hmm. There weren't any women producers.
Still not really a thing.
It's still not really a thing. There are, you know,
we were just talking about Alex Klein with Tigirlily, who's label mates of yours.
Klein is a badass. Yes. Like, she's incredible. Mm-hmm. It's so fun to see, like women kind of sit in that chair.
Yeah.
So all that to say is, like, I was always curious about it, but when I moved here, I was like, oh, I guess that's not really a thing. I don't know.
Did you feel discouraged?
I never felt discouraged. I felt like, oh, I guess that's how it is. Like, I didn't think about it too much.
Yeah.
But as I started making my records, I felt really inspired by the producers that I did get to create with. You know, Paul Moak, we did Starfire together, like, and he's a brilliant producer. Yeah. And so, like, just being able to, like, learn from masterclass people like that. Leggy Landon did my Supernova record and out in LA, and I learned a ton from him as well. And so, like, to be able to have, like, two really incredible mentors, like, you know, just encourage that and to watch that, I don't know, it encouraged me. And then COVID happened. We're all just Zooming. We're all Zoom writing.
Zooming all over.
We're making our own demos at home. It kind of turned into that. Mm-hmm. Like, where all of a sudden I had to just do all of it again. And it started getting me, like, excited. I was like, this is fun. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm having fun finding sounds. I'm having fun, like, creating this by myself. And one of my favorite collaborators as of lately, she has a bunch of songs on this record, Jen DeSilvio. Mm-hmm. We wrote High together, Maybe in Another Life. And Jen's an incredible producer out in LA.
Okay.
And so she was, like, the first woman producer I had met that I was like, oh, this is so cool. Yeah. Like, seeing her do the track and, like, got really, like, and she was super encouraging. Was like, why don't you make your own record? And, like, to have that women power to be like, you do it. Yeah. And I was like, okay. She's like, what's the worst that can happen? If it sucks, just retrack it.
That's amazing.
Like, I was like, okay.
So what, did you just go to your label and be like, I want to produce this?
So I went to the label. I sat down with Katie McCartney and Shane McAnally, and Shane's an incredible producer as well. And I was like, this is what I was thinking. And Shane's response was like, I want nothing more than, like, to hear what a Caitlyn Smith record sounds like.
That's amazing.
You know, self-produced. And so to have that support from the label being like, go do it. See what happens.
That's amazing.
Was really incredible. And so then I kind of dove in head for it first. It was scary though, because when you do something that you've never really done before and you just kind of jump head first into it, it's like really terrifying. I remember kind of walking in the studio feeling like, they're gonna know I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Like, there's just a lot of, like, the fear. The fears were just chilling on my shoulder going like, they're just very loud.
As they do.
As they do. And so it was just like, I could just feel myself through the whole process growing. Yeah. Because as you step into kind of that unknown, that's what happens.
You're forced to grow.
You're forced to grow.
And you're
like,
going to get better no matter what.
And, like, shut out the voices and, like, trying. And even if you fail, even if that's the worst case scenario. Yeah. You're still going to learn from it. It's still going to grow, which is pretty cool. And I don't count it a failure. I count it.
It's absolutely not a failure. It's amazing.
I feel like I did it. I feel really, really grateful for the process.
It's beautiful. I mean, I was listening through the whole thing earlier today too, just getting ready for this. I wanted to have Caitlyn Smith instilled in my soul, and there were times where I felt like this is so beautifully country. And then there's times where I felt like it was like almost John Mayer reminiscent. And it was just so cool. All of the different feelings and vibes and energies that you brought in.
I mean, making a record too, it's a snapshot of where you're at. And I felt like I could take all of my favorite pieces of records that have made me who I am and pull from them and draw from them. And like, I mean, that's what I feel like this is. So you can, I feel like you can hear there's like, there's a little throwback to Paul Simon, or there's a little like, oh, what is that? That's like, that feels like Carole King, or that guitar tone's like Wilco, or like, and just you're kind of cherry picking to make your pot of soup. Yeah. your song
you
soup.
You created a masterpiece.
Well,
so you should be very proud of that.
I do want to say too about the record is, you know, speaking of strong women on your team, like I knew I needed to have a great engineer that I trusted. And I was listening to some of my favorite records and kept reading the name Deana Johnson. And I was like, who is Deana Johnson? Like,
you had never met her before?
Like, I had never met her before.
Oh, wow.
This is a trip. So finally, like, friends connected us. She's from Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota. We were instant soul sisters. And it was, like, such a beautiful process to, like, walk through with her.
Yes,
like, another strong, incredible woman. There's not a lot of women engineers. And to have her kind of, like, you know, be there with me through this process and be so patient with me was, like, a marvelous thing. And so there's lots of women energy on this record, but I have to always mention Deana because the record wouldn't have been possible.
I'm so glad that you did, because I love her, and I mean, it just makes it even more special. Like you said, all the women, it's cool. Magical.
She's a badass.
Yes. So you have had all these successes happening. I mean, the songwriting, touring, the album, 2-time ACM nominee. That's got to feel like, it has to feel at some point, maybe, I don't know, like you're doing something right. Like the validation where you're like, okay, I'm on the right path. Because when I think about the first time I really heard your music, I think was This Town Is Killing Me. And that song really, I feel like, catapulted you into the spotlight, because I think every single person in town fell in love with that song, because we can all so deeply relate to that, right?
We're all getting killed by this.
Yes. And I was thinking about that, because I was thinking like back to some of the earliest things I could remember about you. And that was one of them. And I'm like, okay, do you allow yourself to feel the success that you've had? Or like, do you still feel that way towards Nashville? I'm sure that you do sometimes and don't. But I guess, like, as an artist, I know personally sometimes that pain is what pushes us to continue on and to keep pursuing excellence and success. So what do you allow yourself to...
That's such a great... I know. I've been asked this question before, and I always have a hard time... answering it, because... maybe because I feel a little bit of guilt that I don't... Like, I'm an Enneagram 3, and I'm always, like, looking at the list, looking at the next thing. Cool. Oh, we checked that off. Groovy. Let's keep driving. Yeah. All right, we did that. Like, I
and
feel a little...
it's very easy to become, like, desensitized in this industry.
Exactly. It is super easy, and it like, so even hearing you say, like, cool, like, you got nominated for ACM, like, that must have felt like such a thing, but it is so strange.
Yeah.
The desensitization.
There you go.
that kind of occurs as you're kind of like, there's a very real, like, treadmill that happens. And I've been kind of like, it's a love-hate thing, because I like to work hard, I like to have goals, and I love to keep looking forward. Like, I want to go to the top of that mountain. But the problem with that is then there's always going to be another mountain.
Yes.
I'm quoting a Miley Cyrus song.
I mean, you have a Miley Cyrus song, so I think it's okay.
Just kidding. But it's so true.
There's always going to be another mountain.
There's literally...
And you're always going to want to make a move.
I'm deceased. Put me in a coffin. I mean, but it's so true. And so, like, I have a hard time, like, even sitting there, like, hearing, like, people rattle off the accolades. I'm like, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's crazy. because I don't normally sit there like and think like,
great job, Caitlyn.
Really have like I don't allow myself to sit in it, which I don't know if it's good or bad. Mm-hmm. It just is. It just is. I do have a little guilt about that though. Like I need to at least like slow down and appreciate every once in a while.
Yeah, I think just having
not that I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Which, like I said,
which
it's hard
I know
to,
that you
it's
do.
hard to answer. It's hard to answer. So, I mean, I feel grateful. And at least once a week, I feel like this town still is killing me. Yes. But I try not to focus on it, you know. As I get older, I try and, like, let more of that go. Throw more of that out the window.
And I feel like being a mom, too, at least what I notice is that you're able to let a lot more stuff go.
So true. Like your whole perspective shifts in general. It's not just about the hustle and the grind and, you know, because when you don't have kids or family that you're focused on, you can just focus on your dreams, and that's so cool. Yeah. You have so much space to do that, and so much time. And then when you add the elements of, like, husband and now 3 kids, like, and trying to manage just your priorities shift in a beautiful way because it's the best thing.
Yes, writing songs and raising babies.
It's the best thing I've ever done. And all of a sudden, like, you're like, the grind is just less important. So
absolutely.
That's the thing, too.
Yeah, and it's very freeing.
You're like, oh, I want that, but not, like, so bad that I'm going to not see my kids for this many days. So
yes.
Next.
It like forces you to have better balance too, I think. And I mean, like you said, there's nothing that's ever going to be more important than your child at the end of the day. No. So it's kind of cool that you've got like this family that, you know, at the end of your life, that's always what is going to be your most proud thing. Like no matter kind of what you're saying, like no matter how many ACMs and CMTs and all of that, you know, it's kind of nice to feel like I have done my greatest accomplishment already, and so all of this is so fun, and I get to enjoy it and like have fun with it and challenge myself, and whatever is will be.
I mean, and I think a lot of times within music, like all of a sudden everyone gets so serious and we act like it's like we're doing heart surgery or something. You're like, we are literally making up music.
Right.
Some of it's ridiculous and some of it's horrible or whatever. And we're just playing it for people, and that's it's not that serious.
Yeah. Yes.
And we get to do that for our jobs. Like we get to feed our families doing that, and that's really cool. I never want to forget that.
Yes, I have to remind myself of that quite often.
Every time before a show with my band, I'm like, you guys, we're really doing it. This is our job today.
Like, we're going to work.
That's my hype speech. I was like, y'all, this is cool. We're drinking tequila at work. Well, not right now. I miss tequila right now.
That was my drink, too.
I love tequila. Yes. But anyways, we get to do this for a job, and I try not to forget that. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. And I remind myself of that before songwriting, too. And I wanted to talk to you about songwriting. Yeah. Because you have an incredible list of not only your own songs, but songs that have been cut by all the other legendary artists that I mentioned previously, which, I mean, Garth Brooks is a huge one.
Hero,
like, that's
man.
What? So, I mean, I want to go back, like, take me back to your very first, what to you was your first huge cut that you were like, oh my gosh, this is really happening.
I signed my first publishing deal about 13 years ago now. And in those first years, I feel like I was writing, hundreds of songs.
Yes.
You're writing, we were writing,
doing doubles
every day. So some weeks I would write 10 songs in a week,
wow.
Which is insane. Wow. So I remember this first 4 years of just hustling, like crazy, but it was about 6 months in, and I got my first cut, and it was on Jason Aldean.
Oh, wow.
And it was on his My Kind of Party record, which was like,
huge.
It was back in the day where records actually sold physical copies.
Yes. So getting a cut that wasn't a single was
you're like,
huge.
Oh my God, I could recoup my deal.
Yes.
This is so cool.
Imagine that.
It was just like, so special.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I remember.
What song on the album was it?
It was called "It Ain't Easy." It was just a great track 9 song. I feel grateful to.
All right, everybody, look that up.
It Ain't Easy. It's so great. But I mean, those first few years of writing too was so much fun. Like every time that I would even get a hold, like I was celebrating everything.
Yes.
I would go to the liquor store and get a cheap bottle of champagne, and we were like, oh, we got a hold. Little did I know.
Just kidding.
The batting average on actual cuts to holds.
No.
Like,
it's a classic
we drank
story
a lot of champagne,
okay.
which is great.
You still got the endorphins of that moment. You can enjoy that.
So funny. But I think about that time and how special it was that we celebrated it all.
Yeah.
And
so like early Nashville days, because I know you're originally from Minnesota.
Right.
Tell me about you, like when you came to Nashville, because I was born and raised here, so I never had to leave.
You're the unicorn.
So I'm so fascinated by everybody's different story of how they got here. So I would love to hear yours.
Yeah, so I started coming to Nashville when I was in high school. I had been gigging and playing. I started off in church, was gigging and playing at like coffee shops and colleges and different things in Minnesota, doing that as a kid. Long story short is at 15, I made a little indie record. Oh, wow. My parents said, we have a college fund, but do you want to use it to make a record?
That's amazing.
Which was crazy. But the catch was they're like, you have to learn how to have a business, and so you have to learn how to pay us back.
Can we
was
say
so cool?
Yay for mom and dad?
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to give you like
heard.
thousands of dollars.
That's the coolest mom and dad story I've ever heard.
It was so incredible because I was able to make this record and play shows and sell records and pay it back. And it was such great business school as a kid. But all that to say, I was doing that, around 15, 16, and had heard Nashville was a great place to go if music is really what you wanted to do. And so my mom drove me down when I was like 16. We had one contact and got connected into the world. And it's kind of crazy how Nashville's such a small community. Yeah. I actually started off like in the Christian music world, which is a whole nother subculture of Nashville as well.
Wow.
Because I was doing church music and that's all I knew. But then I saw I had heard a Patty Griffin record when I was here in Nashville, and I was like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
And grew up on country music, and then kind of saw country music here, and I was like, oh, wait, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I like this over here.
Excuse me.
Anyways, all that to say is I took a ton of trips back and forth in my little Dodge Neon from Minnesota to Nashville, would play a bunch of bar shows, save up my money, and then crash on someone's couch, to be here.
Wow.
And so I did that for years. And then I fast forward to I think I was early 20s and wanted to get a publishing deal. And I think I met with every single publisher on Music Row, which at that time there was 30 of them. Wow. And so I just spent a year just going around playing my songs, showing my demos. And I got a couple pub offers and signed my first deal, which was so crazy.
Yeah.
And Music Row then, it was magical, but Music Row then was a little bit different. And everything was on those few blocks, so you'd walk to your co-write and then you'd go meet your friends at the bar and then you'd go to another co-write. Why not? And everything was just
still Music Row. Everybody was there.
The community was felt tighter and smaller. And then you'd pop over to the studio and cut the demo with the band on Fridays.
Yes.
We were demoing songs.
That's amazing.
All the time, which was crazy. Wow. Anyways, it was...
That's incredible.
It was a wild time.
Journey.
It was cool.
And you've grown from, to think back about 15-year-old Caitlyn with her Pro Tools rig, and now here you are. What an amazing story. It's
really cool.
I love that. It's the dream. It's the Nashville dream.
It's been a wild ride.
And I think I speak for everyone when I say that I'm so glad that you came to Nashville. Because, you inspire me and so many other artists. And as I said before, you just are incredibly uplifting to everybody around you. And I'm honored that you were part of Cowgirls at the Cowboy last year. And
girl, anytime you want me to come to Jackson Hole with you, I'll get on a plane.
I know how to twist your arm to get out there.
Never, ever in a million years.
An honor that you came back to be on the podcast and chat about everything.
Absolutely. So, thank you for having me.
I love you, and thank you so much. Oh, and I also have a little gift for you.
Oh, that's so nice.
Hiding over here. Just a little something to say
thank you. That's so sweet. But, thank you so much, my dear. That's so nice. Ah, that's so sweet. Should I open it on camera?
You can if you want.
Do you know what it was so cool about Jackson Hole too is those when they did that whole presentation
with the belt buckles. So that's actually the Tetons in a glass.
Stop in the name of love.
For your tequila when you can drink it again.
You better believe.
Because Tigirlily and I are shooting tequila in those.
They did. They shoot tequila. I love it so much.
And then this one's for little baby.
Stop. Are you kidding me?
Just a little something, something.
Oh, my word.
Just a little Jackson Hole.
Are you kidding me?
Onesie.
So soon. I feel like he's going to look so good in it. This is so stinking cute. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
That's so nice. Wow, you're the best.
You're the best. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
and
thanks, dear.
Everyone be sure to go check out Caitlyn Smith. She's phenomenal, as you can hear and see on this podcast, but her music will make you cry. Make your heart swell.
I love a good feeling.
And party. So everything, all the good things, she's got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caitlyn.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank y'all so much for listening. Tickets are now on sale for Cowgirls at the Cowboy. I hope to see you there. Visit milliondollarcowboybar.com for more info.